Oh,
Yep, that's how it usually is. Yep.
He knows our God is victorious in the end.
Thank you for mentioning that, guys. For some reason, I didn't have it on live. Oh, my live's been screwing up lately. I don't know what's going on here. All right, whatever. I'll just upload our study later. Not a big deal. But anyway, so that we were just mentioning about the plan, how Satan knew the plan from Genesis 3:15. That's probably why the plan of the firstborn happened in the land of Egypt. So just to recap what we've read so far is, okay, you got the Passover lamb, roasted, do not boil it, eat with your loins girded, you got your staff, okay, to guard the month of Abib. Even though it's not literally saying that, you could get that from the beginning of months commandment in verse 2. So we're at verse 9 so far. And notice how it says all the congregation, all. So it's not like, some people could make the assertion that there's certain commandments that seem to only be to specific people, that this is to everyone who believes in Yahusha and wants to worship Yahuwah. So this is very specific to the whole assembly, you could say the whole body of Messiah. So again, taking the blood on the doorpost, right? So we read that, eat the flesh. Same night we were supposed to eat it. Anything left in the morning, we're supposed to burn the remains. Okay, so now we're at, I think we're going to be at, let's see, verse 11 here. Thus you shall eat it, your loins girded and your staves on your feet and the staves in your hands, you shall eat it in haste. So this even more to Brother Joshua's point. You got to be very quick on it. You got to be this is not, take your time and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not have a time and have yourself a good time and take your time. The thing is, they had to leave Egypt like after this meal. They had to get going. So
I would have been in trouble with my stomach.
Yeah, no gastric bypass stomachs there, Mom.
No.
Don't worry, you're gonna have a new body.
Yes, praise him, a new body. Oh man, I sound like my father. My father always used to say that.
Yeah.
A brand new body.
And this is not a feast of the Judeans. Notice how it says, it is a Passover to Yahuwah.
Hallelujah.
See, and I know we're going to have some people listening in here. They're like, oh, it's the feast of the Jews in Leviticus 23. No, it says these are my feasts. His. Just like the Sabbath is his. Doesn't belong to the Judeans. So, that's something, he, especially the Sabbath. I mean, the Sabbath's easy to prove that. Genesis 2:2 is when it was instituted. And I will go through the land of Egypt in that night. This is why they have to hurry up, because in that night, he's going to smite every firstborn of the Egyptians, both man and beast, and of the mighty ones of Egypt will I execute vengeance. I am Yahuwah. That's kind of interesting. That's like a parallel to the flood, how he wasn't just going to kill humans, but man and beast. It's kind of interesting. So I kind of, I guess, that's Yahuwah's prerogative. I don't know why exactly. The beast too, maybe.
Oh.
I don't know. That I could see more along the lines why he would do it during the flood, because you had a lot of messed up stuff going on in the flood, in the pre-flood era. You had a lot of mixing going on, so I could understand why he's killing those beasts.
They were owned by the evil ones in his eyes. Get rid of it all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Put everything under the ban. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and the blood shall be for a sign to you on the houses in which you are. Now, see, this is definitely prophetic, because a sign is something spiritual. It's something in your hand, in your forehead. It's a spiritual thing. It's not just physical. It's a sign. It's a token. You could say. Yeah. So
also a signature. Sign is the root of signature, which represents authority.
Wow.
Good point.
That's a great point, Brother Dennis.
Remember the signet ring that was passed to Joseph, giving him authority.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that story. I love Joseph.
So see here, a great point to Brother Dennis. So a signet. You also have seals. Seal is like a sign. When they put a seal on someone's tomb, that's authority. Verse 13, and the blood shall be for a sign to you on the houses which you are. I will see the blood and will protect you. And there shall not be on you the plague of destruction. Now, I want to go to the Targum here because they mention something. I kind of wonder if it mentions the word of Yahuwah protecting the house, because I remember something different where the Targum sometimes mention Yahusha a little bit more. So I just want to see something real quick.
Oh my gosh.
You all right, Mom?
Yeah, I'm going to put myself up as a prayer request today.
I will.
Okay.
Well, we'll say a prayer for you. Yeah, my mom's legs are bothering her.
I'm just weak. This weak
Yeah.
thing is driving me crazy.
Yeah, you're in recovery. That's getting that stuff out of your system probably did a doozy on your body. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Let's see here. I just want to see, it says, in the Targum of Jonathan, it says, and the blood shall be for a sign upon the houses where you are, and I will see the blood and will have mercy upon you. And there shall not be among you the destruction of death when I slay in the land of Egypt. Interesting. When Yahuwah slays. Interesting. It's kind of interesting. So we'll see why that's important there. But as you can see, a little bit more info on the Targum there. He's going to have mercy. So, wow, mercy is not a New Testament only thing. Wow, I'm shocked. So, obviously, mercy has always been forever. Favor did not come just, out of nowhere in the New Testament. Like a lot of people want to use that verse that says, the law came by Moses, mercy came by Yahushua Messiah. So that means there was no mercy before the New Testament, which is not true at all. So that's not what that verse is saying in context. But a lot of people like to use that mainly as an excuse not to keep the law. But anyway, so we got the plague of destruction. According to the Targum of Jonathan in verse 13, he will have mercy because of the blood that's on the doorpost. And this day shall be to you a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout all your generations. You shall keep it a feast for a perpetual ordinance. And perpetual, for anyone that doesn't know, that means pretty much eternal. Perpetual is like forever, as far as I remember. I would actually like to, let me put that to the test, because I'm kind of curious. Sometimes the Greek has eon instead of forever. So sometimes like it's a long age.
It means ongoing.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying sometimes there's two different Greek words. One is eternal, like literally eternal, and one's eon, meaning a long age.
Right.
Like in Revelations, where people, like, this is kind of a little odd topic, but it's important to differentiate when it's forever and when it's not.
Right.
Because it says this, it talks about they're tortured forever and ever in the English, but if you look in the Greek of the Greek New Testament, that word is eon. So it means they're tortured for an age. They're not tortured forever and ever. So that forever torment, doctrine is not correct, because the Greek word there's eon. So, but anyway, so I just wanted to mention that, and it is eternal here in the Greek here. The APP Plus says, aionios, perpetual, eternal, forever, everlasting. So this we know for a fact is forever, because the Greek word there is the G166. For anyone that wants to look that up and check it for themselves, that's aionos. So it's different from aeon. So, okay, 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. From the first yom you shall utterly remove leaven from your houses. Whoever shall eat leaven, that bean, shall be utterly cut off. And this, like, literally means physically utterly destroyed. Utterly destroyed from Yasharal, from the first yom until the seventh yom. Okay, it's the first day to the seventh day shall eat only unleavened bread. No unleavened no leavened bread should be in your houses. And that goes to another interesting topic about yeast versus leaven, because sometimes the translations will say yeast, but there is yeast that are in foods that don't cause it to rise. So I think leaven, in my opinion, is more specific, and it's more correct that it should be leaven and not translated as yeast, because really what he's talking about is yeast that causes dough to rise. That's what the commandment's really referring to, rather than just, and also I wanted to mention, if you have stuff that has yeast extract in it, that is not leaven. That is not, and that's not even yeast. That's a fake name for what's known as stuff that's in Chinese food and stuff like that. What is it called? The bad stuff that's in Chinese food.
MSG.
Monosodium glutamate.
Yeah, so I just want people to know that, so they don't go crazy. Our brothers and sisters don't go crazy and start saying, "Oh, yeast extract, I gotta get it out of the house." Even though you probably shouldn't eat stuff with yeast extract in it anyway, but it's not actual yeast. Just wanted to put it out there that that's not what it's talking about when get rid of leaven. So whoever shall eat leaven, that being shall be utterly destroyed from Yasharal. That's you could say that's a curse right there. How Deuteronomy later on will talk about the barakas and curses, in a way for you not to keep that. And I still think today, you're playing with fire if you purposely don't obey that. So because I know some people believe the curses are done away with because, it says Yahusha took the curses, but I don't know. I rather be on the safe side and not assume. So, I still think there's curses today, in my opinion. And the first day shall be called set apart, and the seventh day shall be set apart to you. You shall not do servile work on them. And the reason it's probably servile work here is because you would have to do some type of work to make the bread.
Yeah, that's what it says here too. Yes, except to prepare food for everyone to eat. That is all you may do.
Well, NIV, I'll give you credit. I hate to give the NIV credit, but man, when they're right, they're right. I'll give them credit where credit's due. That's 1 out of a million there. All right. Little joke there. Those of us that know about the errors of the NIV. Only as many as you will necessarily be done, Septuagint says, by every being. This only shall be done by you, mean cooking. You can do on that day. Normally, you wouldn't be able to cook on the Sabbath. And you shall keep this commandment, for on this day I will bring out your force or army, company of people, out of the land of Egypt, and you shall make this day a perpetual ordinance for you throughout your generations. Beginning the 14th day of the first month, 14th, you shall eat unleavened bread from evening till the 21st day of the month till evening. 7 days leaven shall not be found in your houses. Whosoever shall eat anything leavened, that being shall be cut off from the congregation of Yasharal, both among the occupiers of the land and the original inhabitants. You shall eat nothing leavened, but in every habitation of yours you shall eat unleavened bread. So no matter where you are, you could be anywhere and be able to keep that. That seems pretty obvious there. It seems like, even captivity, that's very specific there, everywhere where you live. Moshe called all the elders of the children of Yasharal and said to them, "Go away, take yourselves a lamb according to your kindreds, and slay the Passover. You shall take a bunch of hyssop and have dipped it into some of the blood that is by the door. You shall touch the lintel and shall put it upon the door, both doorposts." This is like, I guess, the institution of arts and crafts a little bit there. You kind of like just dipping it. You're kind of, I'm just making a little joke here.
Yeah, very little. Yeah, got it.
Well,
I'm only teasing.
It's kind of like painting the door. That's why I said arts and crafts.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Yahuwah has a sense of humor. We know.
Yeah, he does.
We know he got it. Okay.
He does. And Yahuwah shall pass to smite the Egyptians, and shall see the blood upon the lintel, upon the both doorposts, and Yahuwah shall pass by the door and shall not suffer the destroyer to enter into your houses to smite you. So there's like an angel of death that he's sending. And see here, keep ye this thing as a ordinance is for yourself and for your children forever. So again, forever. And if you should enter into the land which Yahuwah shall give you, as he has spoken, keep this service. And it shall come to pass, if your sons say to you, what is this service? That you shall say to them, this Passover is a sacrifice to Yahuwah, as he defended the houses of the children of Yasharal in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians, but delivered our houses. And the people bowed and worshipped, and the children of Yasharal departed and did as Yahuwah commanded Moshe and Aaron, so did they. And I think now, since now that's going to jump to the plagues and stuff, I think we're going to go to Exodus 13 with the firstborn, because we're trying to focus on like the actual Torah part of these chapters. So I think, yeah, this is mainly just the Exodus. Okay, wait, hold on a second. No, we still got verse 43 down here for the rest of the chapter that talks about it again. It says, and Yahuwah
circumcised.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, the circumcision.
That's important. Thank you.
And Yahuwah said to Moshe and Aaron, this is the law of the Passover. No stranger shall eat of it. I would think in context that's referring to strangers that have not joined themselves, probably, because you also have in Numbers 15 that talks about the strangers. There's one law for natural born and the strangers that are part of Yasharal. So I think it's important to take the context when it's talking about stranger. It means someone just passing by and not really a Gentile that wants to join himself to Yahuwah is probably saying. So today that would be like a non-believer that really has no intention on accepting Yahusha. They can't take part of it. And every slave or servant bought with money, him you shall circumcise, and then shall he eat of it. And I think that's very important to understand. So if we're to keep this today, this shows that physical circumcision is still mandatory for the walk, even though it's not an extra prerequisite for salvation like Paul references.
Right.
It's still needed in the walk. It's not like you throw it away just because, I think it's like this mindset in Christianity, anything that doesn't have to do with, salvation is like, throw away, and like, not even realizing that if you willfully disobey that, Yahusha can choose not to save you, even though that act of itself doesn't save you. Hebrews 5:9 says he is the causer of everlasting salvation to those that obey him. So our obedience doesn't save us. Our outer works don't save us, but at the same time,
neither is baptism.
But at the same time, he can choose not to save us. He can choose to say, well, you disobeyed me willfully.
Right.
You didn't care to obey me. So why am I going to give you this free gift? That's what we need to understand. So it goes both ways. We can't just be like, okay, Ephesians 2:8-9, so we don't got to do that. Because at the same time, you're willfully disobeying what the Father has pre-established. So I think that's something I just wanted to bring up. Every slave or servant bought with money. Why is that the case? Because, now they're basically a servant of Israelites. So they come part of that Israelites household. You shall circumcise, and then shall he eat of it. A sojourner or hired servant shall not eat of it, meaning it's just hired help. Say my mom hires a non-believer to fix a lighting fixture. That's not a believer. That person could not take part in this.
Right.
That's what it's saying. In context, it's talking about a stranger that does not believe in the creator of the universe, like does complete atheist, Hindu, Buddhist, whatever you want to.
Believes in whatever way you can go to heaven. You're going to go to heaven no matter what road you take.
No, it doesn't even have to be a believer of a religion. It can be agnostic, atheist.
I know a lot of people that believe that no matter what
it's
they
generalized.
believe, they're going to heaven. All different roads lead to the same place. That's a real big belief out there.
Yeah, I agree, Bobby and Kristen. Yeah, non-covenanted probably, because I really feel like we have to understand, like, a true believer is going to be in covenant with the Father. That's like what a true believer is.
Yeah.
If you're not in, like, Scripture doesn't really differentiate. If you believe in the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, automatically you should be in covenant with him because it's connected.
Right.
So if you believe in him, you believe in Yahushua's sacrifice, automatically you're accepting the new covenant, right? So that means you need to be in covenant with him. It's not just like you make an altar call and then, that's it.
Right.
And I think that's the problem, is Christianity is separating something that should not be separated. It's one and the same. If you're going to believe in Yahushua's sacrifice, you have to come into covenant with the Father. It's not a buffet line.
It's not life insurance.
This walk is not a
fire insurance. It's not a fire insurance plan where, yes, I accept Yahushua as my personal savior, boom, and that's it. And then you go and live your life however. No, it's not meant to be that way.
Yeah, so I agree with what Brother Bobby and Sister Kristen put in the chat. That makes 100% sense. There's a lot of people that say they believe that have done mighty works in his name, but are they really in covenant with him? Because he says, I never knew you.
Yeah.
You workers of lawlessness, I never knew you.
Yeah.
You did not keep my commands. You were not in covenant with me.
Right.
So verse 46 says, in one house shall it be eaten. So it goes from, we just saw that this ordinance of the circumcision was mentioned vaguely here. Later, but it's actually mentioned, and if I'm not mistaken, I had this written down last night in Genesis.
Do not break any of the bones.
In Genesis 17 verse 13, if people, I figure it's a good place to go real quick, just so you can kind of get the origin of this, because it doesn't really mention where it originated, this covenant of circumcision. Okay, so priorly with the Abrahamic covenant, it was instituted, and it's Genesis chapter 17 verse 13. He that is born in your house and he that is bought with money shall be surely circumcised, and my covenant shall be on your flesh for an everlasting covenant. So meaning that the token of this Abrahamic covenant is an everlasting covenant. Even though we are in the new covenant, it's still an everlasting token, you can say. And it still transfers from covenant to covenant. Even though it was originally a sign of the Abrahamic covenant, it goes to the Mosaic covenant, which is known as, the time of the law of Moses, and the new covenant. It's all, it carries over. It's not just for the Abrahamic covenant. But it is instituted in the Abrahamic covenant, as you see in Genesis 17 here. And if you go up, I think it starts in like verse, let's see here. What is it? Verse 10. This is the covenant which you shall fully keep between me and you, and between your seed and after you for their generations. Every male of you shall be circumcised. And notice how it says generations for their generations. So it's generations even after Abraham's generation. So this is like an eternal sign of the covenant. And you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be for a sign of a covenant between me and you. And the child of 8 days old, and unfortunately the world does this wrong, not to take it personally, but thank you for messing it up for me. Thank you, stupid doctor. Thank you. And the child of 8 days old shall be circumcised by you, every male throughout your generations, and the servant born in the house, and he that is bought with money, or every son of a stranger who is not your seed. Okay, so and this means that it's not even of your physical lineage they're supposed to get circumcised. So again, every son of a stranger who is not of your seed, meaning not of your lineage, not of your line. So Gentiles that choose to be in covenant with the Father, it applies to them also, not just natural born.
So are you worried that if you don't get this taken care of, that you won't be in covenant?
Well, yeah, it says it. says it right
Even
there.
though it
No,
was-
it doesn't change anything, Mom.
Okay.
Yahushua did not change the laws.
Okay.
Because if he did, Mom, we can't claim him to be the Messiah.
Mhm.
That's what we have to understand.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know. That's what this scripture says. It says, this is a sign of my covenant. Mom, if we're convicted enough, we would be hypocrites to get immersed. We know that's the sign of the new covenant, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we would be hypocrites not to get physically circumcised. I've been in this walk for half a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yes, I couldn't control that they screwed my circumcision up when I was
Mhm.
born, mind you. They're not
Mhm.
even supposed to do it right when you're born.
Mm-hmm.
And
They
you know,
did it on the second day that you were born. So it wasn't done the right way anyway. You know what I mean?
big whoopity doo.
And then they screwed
They
it up
still
too.
messed it up.
Okay,
You know?
so we'll
You know?
figure something
No,
out
I'm
then.
just saying. I'm just saying though, if I'm gonna be honest, I would be willfully disobeying the Father.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. If I didn't do it.
So we'll figure
Yep.
something
Go ahead, Brother Jeff.
Oh, hey, so the argument with Paul, I was looking for a verse just now, and I couldn't find it, but the argument that's being made in the New Testament is there is a group of Jews who are saying you have to be circumcised to be saved. That's what they're arguing. And Paul is saying, no, the prerequisite for being saved is not that you have this outward sign of faith. The prerequisite is having the faith. That's first and foremost. And then he goes on to say, what does the circumcision profit you? And he says, much in every way. And so he's not talking against the circumcision. He's talking against it as a form of salvation, which the Jews were pushing. They were saying you have to keep the whole law before you can be saved. You have to circumcise yourself before you can be saved. And Paul's saying, whoa, 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 no, faith comes first. You're saved first, and then you do these other things, not the other way around.
Yeah. Basically, so that's why, like, I mean, the way I look at it is, if you're in this walk for already a decade as a man, you have not been circumcised. At this point, you should be getting circumcised.
Okay.
I've been in this walk, what, 6 years now?
Mm-hmm.
That's long enough. I should know enough to get circumcised.
Okay.
You know?
Then we'll take care of it.
No, I know. It's not a big deal. I'm just letting you know that scripture says that. That's what the Father says.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he says this is a sign of the covenant with me.
Right.
You know, and I would be a hypocrite to get immersed, to be convicted enough to be immersed, and then something that is established way back to Abraham that never changed, Yahushua himself, right? Doesn't Yahushua say, be an imitator of me, right? Yahushua was circumcised. Paul's disciple was circumcised.
Paul himself was. Yeah.
Paul himself was. So Paul's not doing away with that. He's just saying that you can't be teaching people that it's an added prerequisite, and that belief in Messiah's sacrifice doesn't mean anything, because what they were teaching was that Yahushua's sacrifice wasn't enough. And that the physical act of circumcision is what gave you eternal salvation, which that's what Paul is battling. So that's the context we miss as Christians, and that's why Christians believe that we don't need to do it anymore, because they take Paul's words, which, if that's the case, then you have a contradiction with the Torah. Then you have a contradiction with the 3/4 of the word.
Yahushua himself said, I did not come to abolish the law.
Yeah.
I came to fulfill it.
So yeah.
You know, he himself has said that the law has not lost its meaning. It has not become obsolete, that it is there, it is to be followed, but I bring with me a new covenant as well, a completed law.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll just...
Okay, moving right along.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, I just brought that up because honestly, they did it wrong. And not to get it too personalized, but my circumcision was messed up when I was a child. And I'm working on that, how to fix that. So.
Drug-free, by the way.
Yeah, drug-free. Okay. No.
Lord help us.
Hey,
it's
no pain, no gain.
That's okay.
That's what I was taught as a child by my dad.
Quick.
No pain, no gain.
Quick, fast, boom.
Shoot, I've done there's been a lot of other worse situations than that I've had to deal with pain. So trust me, it's not a big deal. Anyway, but so we're going to continue. We're going to go back here to the end of Exodus 12. Yeah, so let me see here. So chapter 12, we were at, I think, 44, verse 44 or 45, 46. Yeah, one house shall be eaten. So now it's going back to the Passover here. And you shall not carry of the flesh out from the house, and the bone of it you shall not break.
Right, here's a foreshadowing too. The bone, do not break any of the bones.
And all the congregation of the children of Yasharal shall keep it. Again, the whole assembly. Because the reason we know that this is referring to the body of Messiah, it's like one and the same, Yasharal, the congregation, the assembly, it's all one and the same, is because in Acts 7, it says that the congregation was in the wilderness. So Stephen's actually telling you that it's that the body of Messiah is Yasharal. It's like one and the same. So anyway, if any proselyte shall come to you to keep the Passover, proselyte, convert, meaning they're converting to the Hebraic, a sojourner that converts to the Hebraic walk. Let's see here. To keep the Passover to Yahuwah, you shall circumcise every male of him. And notice how it says every male. So it's only for the males. And then shall he approach to sacrifice it, and he shall be even as the original inhabitant of the land. No uncircumcised person shall eat of it. And there shall be one law to the native and to the convert coming among you. I like how the Septuagint says convert. So this makes a distinction between a believer that's a sojourner and someone that's not in trying to be in covenant with Yahuwah, because there were people, strangers coming among the land that were not going to convert. So this kind of makes more of a specific. So proselyte just means a convert to crossing over to being a Hebrew, basically. And the children of Yasharal did as Yahuwah commanded Moshe and Aaron for them, so they did. And it came to pass in that day that Yahuwah brought out the children of Yasharal from the land of Egypt with their forces. And that is it for Exodus 12 here. So we did the law of the Passover, circumcision just now. Okay, so I think we're gonna go now to Exodus 13, I think I have written out. Yeah. So now we're going to go to the setting apart of the firstborn and try to keep it a little bit briefer. There was a lot of commentary from before, but I'll try to keep, from my end, I feel like I had too much commentary there, but I'll try to keep it briefer this time. So here we go. We got the setting apart of the firstborn. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, set apart to me every firstborn, first produced, opening every womb. Among the children of Yasharal, both of man and beast, it is mine. So every firstborn, whether human or animal, belongs to Yahuwah. And that's pretty much it there. And actually, we got the Feast of Unleavened Bread mentioned. Okay. Let's see if there's any other commands that wasn't in the first one. Oh, here we go. Verse 4. Yeah, this is an important one here in this chapter. For on this day, and let's go to verse 3, it says, and Moshe said to the people, remember this day in which you came forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for with a strong hand. Who's the strong hand? Yahuwah brought you from there. So a lot of times, in any people that don't know this that are watching, the right hand of Yahuwah, the outstretched arm of Yahuwah, the strong hand of Yahuwah is Yahusha. That is a title for him in the Tanakh. So every time it says that with a strong hand, it's talking about a person, an actual person. So it says, brought you forth there, and leaven shall not be eaten. Okay, again, it's reminding you of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which we just read about in Exodus 12. You are not to eat leaven from that day forth for the whole week. And it says, for on this day you went forth in the month of new grain, the Septuagint says. I think the Masoretic would say Abib, which according to the King James, I think he translates as green ears, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so let's see, verse 5 here. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah, this seems like a commandment here in verse 5. And you shall come to pass when Yahuwah your Elohim shall have brought you into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Ivites or the Hivites, the Jebusites, the Girgashites, the Perizzites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey. You shall perform this service in this month. 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day is a feast to Yahuwah. A lot of people read too much into this. They're like, well, you're not supposed to eat it on the 7th day. But if you go to the next verse, it'll show you that he doesn't mean only on 6 days. He's just saying on the 7th day is a special feast. Like it's a high day. That's all he's saying. Because verse 7 says, 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. So he's not contradicting himself. He's just making, pointing out that on the last day of that feast, it's a high day. It's a special festival. Okay. 7 days you should eat bread. Nothing leavened shall be seen with you. Neither shall you have leaven in all your borders. You shall tell your son in that day, saying, therefore Yahuwah dealt thus with me as I was going out of Egypt, and it shall be to you a sign upon your hand and a memorial before your eyes, that the law of Yahuwah may be in your mouth. Remember, and this gets reiterated later in Deuteronomy 6 when it talks about constantly when you're rising up, when you're going to sleep, don't let it depart from your mouth, right? Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. So this type of commandment's actually reiterated a lot, but it's instituted, seems here in Exodus 13:9. It shall be a sign upon your hand, a memorial before your eyes, like basically in your mind. It's a sign in your hands. Remember the mark of the beast? In the hand, in the forehead. It's not exactly like a tattoo. It's not really a tattoo. When you actually look at the Greek and Hebrew, it's not talking about like a physical mark or something. It's more or less your thoughts and your actions. That's the way I've learned it, is that's what it means by a signet between your eyes and in your right hand. Because I know Judaism today will take this and they'll put a strap around their arm. You know how they got that weird strap on their arms that has something to do with it, and putting the cube on their forehead.
I've never seen
Basically what they do is they write out the commandments, they put it in a little box like a cube,
Oh.
strap it on their forehead, and they also do it around their arm. They have like these weird straps around their arms. So they take this to the extreme literal when it's more or less talking about the commandments being a sign. It's a sign. It's something spiritual.
Yeah.
It shall be upon your hand and a memorial, basically to remember before your eyes, that the law of Yahuwah may be in your mouth. Yep, go ahead, Brother Joshua.
So I've always kind of had that understanding, against like your modern day understanding of an actual like mark. But the notes, the Hebrew Roots Bible notes that you have on your on the side regarding like Revelation 13:16, would you agree with that as well?
Let's see here. It says the mark of the Antichrist, anti-Messiah, is also in the right hand and forehead. This is symbolic of you think with your mind and do with your hands. Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Yeah, that usually when it says a sign or a mark, it's talking about something more spiritual with your thoughts and your actions. Yeah, that's what I was kind of alluding to. Yeah. Also with the right hand in the Hebrew, thought is the hand of strength. The word for right is yamin in Hebrew, and that is when Rachel died, Jacob changed the name of the child from Benomi, son of my sorrow, to Benjamin, son of my strength, which is mentioned in Deuteronomy. It has a couple of cross references about signs here. Proverbs 7:3 about the commandments, bind them on your fingers and write them on the tablet of your heart. So we know that we're not physically, I don't even know how you do that with your heart. I don't know how that's physical. You're gonna use a marker to write on your chest? I mean, there's skin on your heart. You can't do that physically. So obviously, Proverbs 7 to a spiritual. It's more of a spiritual
thing
in implication.
Yeah.
Because that's what Yahusha meant in the New Testament. He's like, I come to apply these same commandments to the tablet of your heart. And that's the new covenant. Really, that's to be in covenant with Yahuwah is to have his law
on your heart,
written spiritually on your hearts. Now, obviously there's going to be a physical implication when in the resurrection, because I think that hasn't been fully fulfilled with us being in the new covenant yet, because he's supposed to give a new heart of flesh to us, like a physical heart of flesh. That hasn't happened yet. So, but as far as this implication goes, like as of right now, to not let it depart from our mouth, to have it on the tablet of our heart, that the physical part is our mouth speaking it. But as far as a sign, I see that as spiritual. I kind of agree with the Hebraic Roots Bible note here. Makes sense to me. You see it in Ezekiel too. Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Imprinted mark. Yeah. Wow. That's kind of interesting in G5480. Yeah. So I've always thought it was spiritual, to be honest, because I kind of look at the Revelations 13:18 as a correlation with Ezekiel when it's talking about the sign and mark that they have, that that for those that weep over the abominations. And so I've maybe the mark of the beast is different. Maybe it is physical. I don't know. But I know that the spiritual implication seems to be throughout Scripture of that concept. A sign is something spiritual, So anyway, but yeah, so that's verse 9 is not supposed to depart from our mouth. And it says that for with a strong hand, Yahuwah Elohim brought you out of Egypt. Again, he keeps reminding you about his right hand.
Yeah.
Any Jewish people listening here, his right hand.
When we get to the actual Exodus, his right hand stood between Egypt and the Israelites within the vigil. When the Egyptians got too close to them, his right hand was right there in the vigil.
And it says, and you preserve this law according to the times of these seasons. And I kind of wonder in the Hebrew here if this is Moedim, from year to year. I'm kind of curious. Seasons. Yep. Same word that's in Genesis 1:14. Same word that is in Psalms. And this is why I wanted to show too. I actually agree with you, Husha. The book of Psalms should be considered part of the Torah. And this is one of the reasons why it says in Psalms 104, verse 18, the reason I'm going to here is because, or verse 19, is because this is the same word, moed, right here. So, and I think one of the Christian Bibles actually does this correctly. I think it's called the Holman Christian Standard Bible, the HSCB. They translated as he appointed the moon to mark the festivals, or the Moedim. The sun knows his going down. So to me, that sounds perfectly along with how we are keeping these Moedim. We use the moon to keep the Moedim. We use the moon as a guide, not the sun. So to me, that is part of Torah, in my opinion. This would be part of using to look at this to keep his commandments.
Another song.
So let me see here. I think we were at verse 10 of Exodus chapter 13. So let me go back to that. So Psalms 104:19 says that his moon, he made the moon to mark the festivals, or to mark the appointed times. So see here. Let's see here. Yeah, I think we're at verse 10 here. And preserve ye this law to the times of the seasons from year to year. It shall come to pass when Yahuwah your Elohim shall bring you in the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to your fathers, and shall give it to you. You shall set apart every offspring opening the womb, the males to Yahuwah, everyone that opens the womb out of the herds or among your cattle, as many as you shall have, you shall set apart the males to Yahuwah. Every offspring opening the womb of the donkey you shall change for a sheep, and if you will not change it, you shall redeem it. Every firstborn of man of your son shall you redeem. And if your son should ask you hereafter, saying, what is this? Then you shall say to him, with a strong hand, Yahuwah brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And when Pharaoh hardened his heart, see, and I'm glad this actually goes back to the topic, the controversial topic we had last night. Notice how it says Pharaoh hardened his heart, right? So it's not just Yahuwah doing it. I just wanted to point that out. I really want to do a future study with our group about predestination and free will working together in Scripture, and how they're not separated. So I think that's an important one to go through, because as you can see here, it says when Pharaoh hardened his heart. So it's not just Yahuwah. It's not only Yahuwah. So again, you still have the free will there.
Yeah.
So he slew every firstborn in the land of Egypt. He made that choice, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore do I sacrifice every offspring that opens the womb, the males, to Yahuwah, and every firstborn of my sons I will redeem. And I think this is why Satan instituted child sacrifice as a way to get the worship away from the Father. Because think about it, the first, Baruch you.
Thank you.
So think about it in a way that Satan wants to worship, right? He wants to get Yahuwah's worship. Yahuwah's right is every firstborn male. So Satan institutes this satanic, evil child sacrificing system in these pagan religions to take that worship away from the Father. So the firstborn get given to Satan in a way. So it's a demonic perverting of that concept, and that's what's going on with that. So anyone that's pro-abortion right now, I pray that this kind of witnesses to you a little bit about the evil of that. And we really don't have time to go into it, but the book of Enoch talks about how evil it is too. The fallen angels taught it to mankind. So, but anyway. And it shall be for a sign upon your hand and immovable before your eyes. Again, a sign. For with a strong hand, Yahuwah brought you out of Egypt. So again, to me, that seems very a spiritual type of thing. A sign. So this is a sign, a token, a seal. That, remember it says, seal my servants in Ezekiel in that chapter. Put a seal on my servants before you allow the locust to hurt the grass, right? So I see a constant pattern of that. And in Revelation 7, you can find that where it says, seal my servants, seal the servants of our Elohim before you send the locust army and all that, before you send the plagues that eat up the grass. And when Pharaoh sent for the people, Elohim led them not by the way of the land of the Philistines, because it was near.
Right.
For Elohim said, listen, anytime the people repent when they see war and return to Egypt. Yeah. So, and so I'll mention something else about that verse 17 after we read the chapter, because I don't want to keep stopping, but the Targum of Jonathan has a little bit of extra info why they would see war. So we'll mention that after we read the chapter. And Elohim led the people round by the way to, let's see here, by the way to the wilderness, to the Red Sea. And in the 5th generation, the children of Yasharal went out of the land of Egypt. Okay. Masha took the bones of Yosef with him, because this was a commandment of Yosef to his sons that his bones would be carried to their ancestors, like a burial plot type of thing. For he had solemnly commanded the children of Yasharal, saying, Elohim will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones here with you. And the children of Yasharal departed from Sukkot, which is pretty interesting, Sukkot. So you know how Tabernacles, the Feast of Tabernacles is called Sukkot? It's kind of interesting. Yeah. So you got a place called Tabernacles or Sukkot, actually in there. So, and encamped in Otham by the wilderness, and Elohim led them in the way by a pillar of cloud. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other commandments? And that's it. So that's pretty much it for the commandments of Exodus chapter 13. It was mainly the firstborn, a reiteration of the unleavened bread. And also they gave you a little reference to the commandment in Genesis about carrying Joseph's bones. So that's pretty cool. I did want to go back to this verse 17 because you know how Christianity always says, we're the dry bones.
Mm-hmm.
I want to show you something interesting from the Targum, something that people might not be considering, that it's already happened already.
Mm-hmm.
Or not that it's already happened already, let me correct myself, or that the dry bones is not people that are alive right now.
Right.
That it could have been their actual physical brothers and sisters back then that are still yet to be risen. And I'm going to go here. So I'm going to look at the Targum of Jonathan here. It mentions the Ezekiel prophecy. I believe, I'm pretty sure when it talks about Yahuwah did not lead them by the way of the Canaanites. So let me see here. I'm going to go here to Genesis, Exodus. Okay. Yeah, and I have these on my Kindle here, so I have all three of the Pentateuchal Targums on my Kindle. Let's see here. 13. Okay. Verse 17. Wow, yeah, that's a lot more. And it was when Pharaoh had released the people that Yahuwah did not conduct them by the way of the land of the Philistines, though that was the nearest one. For Yahuwah said, lest the people be frightened in seeing their brothers who were killed in war, 200,000 men of strength of the tribe of Ephraim, who took shields and lances and weapons of war and went down to Gath to carry off the flocks of the Philistines. And because they transgressed against the statute of who? The word of Yahuwah, and went forth from Mitzrayim 3 years before the appointed end of their servitude, they were delivered into the hand of the Philistines who slew them. These are the dry bones, which the word of Yahuwah restored to life by the ministry of Ezekiel, the prophet, in the vale of Dura, but which if they now saw them, they would be afraid and return into Mitzrayim. So all I'm saying is, it might have happened already. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It might have happened already. If Targum of Jonathan's correct, and then this is legit, it could have happened already, and we've just assumed that it's future. So we assume that it's talking about a future, resurrecting of dead people, and like usually Christianity will say we're the dry bones, but we've never been dead, Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, bro. I'll try to send you a link of the for these. These you can find on Amazon. They're not that expensive at all. They're a lot cheaper digitally than physically, but I also have the physical ones of them. So for anyone that doesn't know, I made a video about this other day, the history of the Targums, the Aramaic Targums of the Torah. They rumored the earliest Targum is rumored to go all the way back to the Daniel captivity of the 70-year Daniel captivity. The latest Targums are still supposed to be about, I think, roughly like 700-800 years older than the Masoretic. So even the later dates for some of the other Targums, like it's still earlier than the Masoretic. It's like another manuscript that predates the Masoretic text. And the Targum of Jonathan uses some historical writings sometimes, like he'll put commentary into his stuff. So who knows, maybe they historically recorded it somewhere, and that's why it says that there, that they knew that the dry bones, was already that prophecy was like fulfilled back then. Somehow they knew that. But I don't know, that's just something I'm considering, because we kind of just assume that we're the dry bones, like when there's no prophecy really saying that it's supposed to be like an end times prophecy. But
can I make one
yeah,
final point about
yeah.
the Exodus? You know, in the last couple of months, I've been reading through the Torah, and this last time when I read about the Exodus, I never really took this to heart before. And I believe it's because the Spirit was really with me as I was reading this. You know, Yahuwah could have just opened up the Red Sea and said, okay, y'all come. But he didn't do that. He stood vigil by day. He sat in the fire by night so that they could see. The love that he had for his children, he was there watching them, waiting for them, making sure that they were coming through. And when the Egyptians come upon them, he sent his son in vigil in a cloud to get between his children and the Egyptians. This is the love of Yahuwah. This is the love that he has. He didn't just create the miracle and let them fend their way. He sat there like a mother with a newborn baby, and he watched for them and waited for them to make sure they came to safety. And it just spoke volumes to me when I read it, like in the last month. I had never seen that part of it before. And it's just the incredible love that Yahuwah had for his children. And by the way, there were 650,000 men. That's only the men. Some people think there could have been as many as 1 million, counting the women and all the children and all of that. I mean, this was not like a one-night stand. I mean, this was an incredible amount of time and conviction on the part of our Abba Yahuwah. This was the love that he showed towards them. To me, is just incredible.
Basically, really. Because of Abraham, he says it later on in the Torah. He's like, it's not that you're special. Your ancestor obeyed me.
Yeah,
that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Because he even says, you're a stiff-necked people, talking about the Israelites at that time.
They
He's like, you're a stiff-necked people. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because of the promise I gave to Abraham, to Isaac and Jacob.
That's right. You're right. Absolutely.
For the sake of 3 righteous men, he put up with what he put up with those people. With our spiritual ancestors. They, so again, that's what I take away from this. And I mean, there's a lot of commandments we just went through, though. I think we're going to take a break and let that soak it in. The firstborn, the commandment of the night of the Passover, the commandment of unleavened bread, circumcision. So we kind of went through a couple of them already. So I just want to let it soak in. And I don't want these recordings going too long, because like Brother Bobby has mentioned to me, sometimes if it's too long, people will lose interest. So I'm gonna stop it right now. All right. So we'll take a break. So stay tuned, everyone.